And the chickens always hang out in there. So there's chicken feathers or droppings. What I'm saying is there is strong chicken scent everywhere in there. So it's not like there is no scent on the ground and a predator's creeping along at midnight and all of a sudden, oh, there's chickens up there. I'm gonna go up there and kill 14 of them tonight. Right? I used to hang baits off the ground, and the only animals that really caught on fast was either a grizzly bear, rarely a black bear. I had, I think I showed you guys a video last year. I went to the stand and I hung up a bag of meat way off the ground. I got hung at least 9 or 10 feet off the ground. And 100% of those black bears that came were too stupid to look up and know it was suspended from a string. I climbed the tree, looked at the camera, they walked around. Didn't have a clue. The only animal that figured it out, which is a completely, totally different species and so intelligent and stupid, is a big, old, earless grizzly bear. Yes, it was a grizzly bear. Just his ears probably got ripped off. The majority of his ears got ripped off fighting and stuff. So anyways, he knew right away. He discovered it right away, hanging on that string, and he got it. First day he came, he saw, he got it. Before that, 15 black bears came through, didn't have a clue. Another time I hung a deer leg up where these biologists were trying to get footage of wolverine in the coastal mountains of British Columbia. And then they gave up, and then I took over that spot, helped to attract wolves, and I had a deer leg hanging up, and a bobcat. The cats figured it out. Bobcats figured it out. That meat was hanging up in the branch. And the bobcat was actually jumping in the air, clinging onto it, taking bites and swinging like this. I got the videos. They're absolutely hilarious. I think I actually got them on the How to Hunt YouTube channel. But anyway, then a wolverine came by. And so again, the wolverine's always low to the ground. Look up about this much, and they're down to the ground, follow their nose. Never looked up once, never figured it out. Paced back and forth all over the place trying to figure out where this deer scent was coming from. Never figured it out. So I'm getting at is, I just can't picture that bear walking through that absolute hot chicken scent, which is everywhere, all over the ground. It's still, it's warm in the evening. I just can't see him walking along and all of a sudden going, there's chickens up there, right? Especially after he dug the dead ones out of the ground. So, I left cameras up, various points of the property. Nothing came under the trees where the 14 chickens apparently got preyed on in the branches. And he was sulking around in the timber in the corner of the property. I got on my camera there twice, once at midnight, once at 4 in the morning. I have another camera in the front facing from Chicken Island that texts me automatic photos, so I can be alerted to what's up in the right there. Nothing. 2 deer, a rabbit, that's it. So the mystery continues. I don't know, we'll see if these chickens can continue to disappear. I'm gonna have to ring that, the kids and Sarah have called it Chicken Island. I have to ring that with trail cameras to make sure I don't miss any big cats. The only thing that could possibly have done it is a big cat. So the goat pen's about 5 yards from there. See the concern? I don't need to be dealing with these guys if one of the goats gets whacked. Oh my God. So I'll continue my due diligence, but the shitty thing is I gotta leave for 5 days, so it's gotta cross my fingers. Everybody locks up all the animals appropriately while I'm gone and doesn't forget, and nobody gets dusted. I mean, the chicken's okay, but if one of the goats gets dusted, all these guys are gonna be in the insane asylum for about 6 months, and then I gotta deal with it. No thanks. Now, emails continue to pour in. All right, what do we got? What's this one? I'm going to read some recent ones because it's easy, and hopefully it's not going to be a repeat. And this is titled, About Those Phony Researchers. All right, I don't know if we need to give them any spotlight or not. Normally not. Good morning. I recently found your YouTube channel while watching a TV shows on Sasquatch. I'm frustrated at these shows all the time because they are so incompetent. Don't watch them. It's so obvious they will never find any, quote, evidence, end quote, because their show will be over if they did. I still watch them for comic relief. That's like masochism, isn't it? Self-inflicted pain. I couldn't do it. I've not seen or heard or had any encounter myself, but I honestly don't want to. I'm completely happy to have them leave me alone, and I will leave them alone. I still don't believe they exist, and the government is hiding all sorts of things from the general public. It's all about control. After I found your channel and listened to several videos, I heard your review on the TV researchers, and I decided to put them to the test the best I can. So I wrote a report to their organization. As I stated, I have not had an encounter, so I made the whole thing up. I based it entirely off their TV shows. This is sounding like a bit of a waste of time of what you did. Later that same day, one of their head honchos, Money Grubber, ironic name, isn't it, emailed me back and asked to set up a phone call. Once he had me on the phone, he started asking questions and getting more details. The whole entire time his questions were leading. He was asking questions in a way to get the answers he wanted to hear. He fed info, then asked me if that's what I saw. It was pretty spectacular that he was so obvious about it. He was really interested in getting the details and pictures for, quote, any news organizations that might contact us, end quote. The report was in an area where there had not been a reported sighting in over 3 years, and he brought this up several times. I could tell he was excited about it. He never questioned why I thought it was a Sasquatch. He never suggested or asked if it could be a bear or a person. For someone who claims to be a researcher, he approached the interview like a crooked cop trying to get someone to say something to make their job easier. I found the entire call amusing, and now I have a published encounter on their website. Total fraud and unashamedly so. Keep up the good work with your channel. Resist the evil powers that are in charge or think they are, Nathan. Okay, Nathan? Not even sure if I should put that on here or not. I guess I will, whatever. But I'm not encouraging any of you to go out and contact any group to harass them anyway. We're just going to do what they do. On that note, I just don't gotta give. You know, at this stage of the game, picture this, you guys. At this stage of the game, and the amount of people that have contacted us, and who has contacted us, and what they have shared. If you've been actually listening to those people, attempting to find missing puzzle pieces for your puzzle, and now at this stage of the game, after so many honest testimonies from so many great people, I would imagine, I don't do it, never have, but I would imagine if you went and watched any of those reality TV shows at this stage of the game, after listening to so many people here, you would probably get dizzy at how embarrassing it was, just the fact that you went there, let alone listen to those people for more than 7 seconds, right? So, end of story there. We've gone ahead leaps and bounds ahead, left a lot of people in the dirt, kicked them to the curb intentionally because they have been intentionally keeping all of you going in circles that lead nowhere for many years. The only thing I can add to that is I know of some people who are very, very intelligent, diligent, and they submitted a handful of various flavors of encounters to this site years prior, they told me, and the end results was not too good from what the so-called organization was delivering themselves to the public to be all about, which they aren't. So whatever, it is what it is. I don't even think about any organizations. I do not watch reality TV. If I do, if anybody catches me watching reality TV, please kick me in the nuts as hard as you can and tell me, and that's for being stupid. Okay? End of story. Please don't email me in about these guys anymore. It's just they're so far back behind I can't even see them in the rearview mirror. Okay, you guys? Now, moving along. What's this one? I watched this huge thing running in broad daylight. You know, on that note, it really was pissing me off. You know, when I first came out publicly, and I'd had about it up to the nuts of watching the mainstream small handful of people absolutely intentionally keeping all of you, keeping the actual, some very, very important details of what tens of thousands of people see, actively making sure they keep those details away from all of you, the public. That's what they've done. It's very easy to prove that. All you have to do is go back through these videos. I don't know how many you would need to watch, and then possibly go check out some of these places that report sightings and match up the similarities. Okay, there's going to be a whole pile of details shared here you're not going to find on those websites. Why is that? Why do you think that is? Why do you think those small handful of people intentionally kept a lot of very, very important details away from you? Why is that? I think if I was forced to be in the same room as some of these idiots, I would dump that question on them, and I would be relentless, and I would not stop until I got the answer. But then again, that would be giving them attention. They don't count anymore. There's off the side of the road, like an old McDonald's coffee cup blowing in the breeze with the rest of the trash. Now, I watched this huge thing running in broad daylight. Hi, Steve. Keep my name private. Gotcha. A little background information. I got divorced with 5 kids, went to college for 5 years, and earned a BSN-RN degree and became a registered nurse. And you are what I refer to as a kick-ass chick. Kick-ass chick. Superhero chick. I love hearing that. Love it. You can do anything, and you just proved it. As long as you don't quit, right? Or I hate it when people say I quit. I hate it when people quit, and I hate people that say I can't. C-A-N-T, 4-letter word. It's not in my vocabulary. You need a career to take care of 5 kids. Loved every minute of helping women have safe deliveries of their babies as a labor and delivery nurse. I finally raised the kids and finished my career and built my retirement home in Millville, a small farming community in northern Utah. Utah, here we go. No shortage of shit going on in Utah. After living out of state all those years, paradise. That's what I call Millville. Kids walk up the road leading their fair sheep. Girls ride the quarter horses while ponying another horse down the road, and tractors often lumber along our roads daily. The best part about this little town is that the most wonderful people in the world live here. Right on. I sent you a long email with multiple experiences about 6 months ago, but I don't think it was ever read. Oh, that sucks. I'm going to have to search your name. You lucky just got far too many emails with everyone's experiences to read them all. Thanks for your help to get as many as possible of our stories out and helping us all to be heard. Once you have experiences with these beings, the concern they will be around again doesn't go away. No, it doesn't. I have a funny feeling one's in my yard currently. Once you have the experience of these beings, it's a kind of like a PTSD. Ever since I had an encounter on July 12th, 2021, right near my house in Millville, I keep worrying it will show up again. I want nothing to do with them. Just this month, on Saturday, August 6, 2022, approximately 7:30 p.m., my oldest son was out in the kitchen sink looking out the window to the east towards Millville Canyon. He said, "There's a guy up by the deer fence on a horse." So I started looking for a guy on horseback. Then I saw a pitch black, huge figure of a man like being running and darted behind a large tree bush. All right, so guess what? That sucker, as soon as your eyeballs connected on him, or he or she, that being knew. How frickin' bizarre is that, right? Knew. Didn't even have to face you. Knew. As soon as your eyes hit it. How many times has that been blatantly delivered across to us? Now that is a being that's in tune. Now, that got my total attention because he/it was huge. I don't see anyone on horseback as all my attention now is on the black human-like figure. I stepped outside on the covered patio for a better look. I then saw it start to run again from behind the tree/bush. It ran faster than any human being could run. I'd estimate about 50 miles per hour. It then briefly stopped again and hid behind another tree/bush. I kept watching, and about 30 seconds, I kept watching, and after about 30 seconds, and it started running again in the open. It was really covering ground at a ridiculous speed, then suddenly stopped and turned to look back towards Millville Canyon. It looked for only a couple of seconds, then turned north again and took off running north again. I was so stunned to see it actually leaping over bushes. It looked like an athlete running over steeples, like in the Olympics, with its arms pumping really fast. Its legs were going so fast it looked like in the cartoons, where the legs of the figure looked like a blurry circle. The thing looked like it had something hanging off the arms, all black, that swayed rapidly with each successive pumping as it ran. It leaped over some shrubbery and weaved as it ran around others. I kept thinking, it's so huge. Its entire body was solid black. Its round head was huge. Its shoulders looked massive. Its upper body and head leaned forward as it ran. The mid-body was more narrow and the legs were huge. I couldn't believe what huge strides it was taking as it ran, and especially when it leaped. Its legs were straight out when fully extended during the leaps and way back as the back stride took place. I was so fortunate to notice the new water pump house on the side hill as it ran going north on the mountain face. I thought, great. Now I'll have a good point of reference for its size. I watched it for approximately 3 minutes. Holy shit, 3 minutes is like 3 hours when it comes to these encounters. Crazy as it sounds, I never once thought to get my cell phone to film it. And you know what? That's so common, it's not even funny. I remember, just so you know, don't feel ashamed of that or embarrassed, but I remember one time when I was trying to intentionally find these things, and I heard a 3-tone howl, probably 40 yards from me in thick willow. Snuck back again. Another time, I waited a week. I would wait a whole week in between hiking in for about a mile, 2 mile, and varying my approaches from the direction. Anyways, what I'm getting to is I got in there, had a camera and a tripod, and I thought I was being stealthy, and I had a .300 Magnum hidden in the grass, only because there was black bears and grizzly bears all over the place. It was springtime, and something started beating on a tree, like right there, which only could have been described as like a backhoe slamming it with a log. And I didn't think for even a tenth of a second of hitting record on that camera. All I was thinking was, get me the hell out of here. Oh my God, I gotta get out of here. Didn't think for a second about the camera, and it was on a tripod ready to go. So there you go. Sorry for the interruption. Eventually, my view of it was obscured by closer trees, and I saw it no more. I later went to see how tall the pump house walls were and was shocked. The creature was half as tall as the walls of the pump house. It turns out the pump house walls are 18 to 20 feet tall, which puts it at 9 to 10 feet tall. And as for the terrain, it has huge old sagebrushes and scrub trees, gullies, and dried yellow grasses that are all along the hillside. What the heck? Now my concerns are realized. We have hairy beasts or people living and roaming real close to our homes. Why do they have to be near us? Why in broad daylight? I just want no part of them. What I watched was it running about half a mile on the mountainside. Thanks again, Steve. You're the best for speaking for us about all our experiences and being our voice and crazy events worldwide, which are so disturbing. L. All right, thank you so much. And here is a screenshot of the terrain. It's pretty dry around there. Looked pretty elky to me too. Elk and mule deer, I'm guessing. Okay, let me hold this up so you guys check it out this way. It's easier. There it is. I'm guessing she saw it running along there. Now, the shot of the pump house would have been interesting. Wouldn't really change much though. And just think, so if it was running, if it was actually running, like you said, head, torso forward, running, imagine how big it would have been if it stopped dead and stood up straight beside the pump house. I'm guessing a lot more than 10 feet. Now, what, as you say, you know, it kind of sucks when you get slapped in the face with the fact that they're real, but then it doubly sucks when you get slapped in the face with the fact that they're right near your home, right? That kind of sucks. And but just so you know, these beings are being seen literally everywhere. Every state, every province, in the middle of nowhere, or in frickin' back semi-rural properties, even within view of apartment buildings at times, right? So I can't say for sure myself, but my mind seems to be absolutely leaning towards, did some of these beings just get here? You know what I mean? Like, because the sign that is shown that leads me to think that possibly some of these beings just got here is when you have an incident like this one, right? This thing's in broad daylight, full view of some rural homes, and running, shitting himself, dodging, trying to find cover and get out of here. Okay, well, it looks like that valley's surrounded by high mountains. Obviously, if you just did a little bit of an echo hike up and over each mountain range, you already looked down. You already know there's people down there. You can see the fences, the fields, the houses, the roads, the streets. Very, very easily avoided, right? If I am running around through the woods, if I am naturally here and I'm not from anywhere else, but actually here in this plane, I'm going to call it this plane, this current plane. If I'm from this current plane, I've been running around those mountains since I was a little teeny tiny being. I know every path, every rock, every tree, every height of land, where I should walk, where I shouldn't walk, where I'm probably going to be seen, and where I'm usually not going to be seen. I'm probably going to cruise at dark, because once the sun goes down, humans are nothing. The wild, once the night comes, the wild owns it, right up to your back door on average, right? So, how can something this big, so if it's that big, it's been alive for quite some time, right? It knows better. How did it get caught? Right smack dab in the bottom of the valley, right amongst the rural properties, right next to the fence and pump houses, and is shitting itself, panicking, running, dodging, ducking, trying to get the hell out of there, right? It didn't just accidentally, knowingly hike up and over the top of hills to this one to look down. Even at nighttime, it knows where it is. It's going to see your bathroom light on. It's going to see the streets lit up, whatever. So there's all sorts of clues and indicators that tell me that possibly some of these beings just got there, right? And now they're trying to figure out how to get the hell out of here. And then they know when you look at them without even looking back at you. Crazy. I'll try to, okay, hold on a minute. I'm going to take your name and put it in my notes with a note beside it to search your name in my inbox so I can find what you've dropped. Okay, give me 1 second, you guys. All right, note to myself to search your name. Thank you so much for that share. And what I was getting to was, you know what? They're everywhere. There's no getting out of it. Obviously, you saw the way the way that thing reacted. It didn't want anything to do with you, so I wouldn't be overly concerned about it. Okay? But just take note. Obviously, you're going to take note anyways. There's no way you can't not look for the subtle signs around where you live or where you hang out. I do it all the time, but I'm still happy and I'm still doing my thing. And it's all good. Now, what's this one? Mark this as red. 2 encounters with the Sabe. Hello, Steve. It's funny how the name Sabe, the Ojibwe name Sabe, has really gone mainstream, isn't it? And that's everybody's just making their own personal choice to refer to them as the Sabe. Nobody's urged them to, that's for sure. Two encounters with the Sabe. Hello, Steve. Hope this finds you well. I have two Sabe encounters to share with you. In my youth, my grandfather was my true father figure. My stepfather was a lump of a man whose only hobby was staring at the TV. And I never met my biological father. My grandfather taught me to love the outdoors, hiking, backpacking, boating, fishing, etc. When I was 9 years old, my grandfather took me on a long fishing trip. We drove to the Texas Panhandle where we lived to the Colorado Rocky Mountains. He wanted to do some fly fishing. The first day in the mountains, we stopped at the first spot he had picked out. We parked the car and walked down a very rough dirt road about 200 meters through a pretty dense grove of aspen and pine trees. We reached the river and the remains of a primitive washed out bridge. My grandfather told me to sit on the remains of the log bridge while he went fishing. I watched as he waded into the water and made his way upstream. I was daydreaming about covered wagons using this bridge 100 years ago when I became aware of noises behind me. My senses kicked into high gear. It was eerily quiet, only the sound of the river and the leaves of the aspens in the light breeze. I was focusing behind me but not wanting to turn around. I became aware of what sounded like breathing, long breaths, with a low growl-like rumble in the exhales. I was suddenly very afraid. You know, why even bother? Why do they even bother doing that to a kid? It just doesn't make sense to me, some of the shit they do. I turned to look towards the trees behind me. It was about 10 a.m. and the sun was shining towards the trees that were about 5 to 10 meters from me. At first it was hard to see past this edge of the forest because it was lit brightly in the morning sun. But after a few seconds I could see a dark humanoid shape, half hidden behind a tree a few meters into the trees. This humanoid shape was huge in every aspect. Bulky, muscular, and very tall, at least 8 feet tall. I was frozen in place, staring at the shape, trying to figure out if I was looking at something real or if it was my imagination. When the figure leaned away from the pine tree, it was behind. My fear turned into terror. I was quickly on my feet, running along the bank of the river, screaming for my grandfather. I made it around the bend and caught sight of my grandfather hurrying along the bank towards me. Out of breath and talking a million miles an hour. My grandfather was struggling to understand me. But as he put the pieces together, his look of concern turned into amused disbelief. He told me he was going to do some more fishing before we would have some lunch. He told me to follow along, staying where he could see me, but to stay very quiet. I kept one eye on my grandfather and the other on the trees. I didn't feel safe till we were back in the car. My second encounter happened when I was 12. My grandfather took me and my 8-year-old brother backpacking in the Pecos Wilderness in New Mexico. We were headed to Lake Catherine. My grandfather overestimated how far we could hike with my younger brother in tow, so we didn't make it to the place he wanted to camp the first night near the stream. We found a nice meadow just right off the trail. My grandfather told us to hike up the trail and fill our canteens while he set up camp. My brother and I started up the trail, but we stayed quiet, didn't talk much. I felt uneasy and was also fairly tired. We were walking up a switchback, and as we reached the top of the ridge, we turned with the late afternoon sun almost straight ahead of us. I spotted a large, nondescript, black, hairy shape about 20 meters ahead of us. I stopped dead in my tracks, trying to figure out what that shape was. At first I thought it was a bear, but then it stood up like a human. It was a humanoid, but huge, very tall, much taller than a man, covered from head to toe in dark brown, almost black hair. It turned its whole body to look towards us. The sun was behind it, so his face was in the shadow, and I couldn't make out any detail. Maybe that was a good thing. Probably. I'm glad that I didn't see the face and the thing not watching me. I was terrified and turned on my heels, yelling to my brother to run. We were sprinting back the way we came, but I was sure it would only be moments before that creature would catch us and tear us into pieces. But suddenly a sense of calm came over me. I heard in my head the message, no need to run, you're safe, but don't talk about me. Isn't that frickin' bizarre? Why not? Why not? Is my question to that being. Why not? The brother and I stopped running at almost the same time. Maybe he heard the same message too, but I don't know if he did because we have never talked about it. Again. We kept walking back to camp. My grandfather was upset we hadn't fetched the water he had sent us for. My brother excitedly told him we got scared and came back when we saw a bear. When he asked me, I told him I wasn't sure what we saw. The next day, as we passed that spot on the way up Lake Catherine, I looked for footprints but didn't see anything. After that trip, my love for nature and my desire to be in the forest was tempered. I didn't go back into any wilderness area until I was 25, and only day hikes, only camping in public campgrounds, camping out of my car. I really appreciate what you're doing. The few times I've talked about my encounters were met with ridicule. It's nice to finally share my experiences with people who believe me. Thank you. Feel free to use my name. Rob Morgan from Texas. Rob, thanks for being brave and coming forward, man. You're not alone. You're so not alone. It's funny. Now, if I could suggest to you, it would be to possibly share this video with your brother. If he's still with us. I'm guessing that he probably doesn't want to acknowledge what that was, and he put it far back behind him and wants to have nothing to do with that topic in his lifetime. That's my guess. But at least if you show him this video, you'll know that there's tens and tens and tens, hundreds of thousands of people have seen this shit. Excuse me. And literally thousands who have come here to share that they have heard these strong messages in their mind while they're in the woods, either looking at something or not even seeing it. And you cannot deny it now. There's way, way too many people who report the same shit around the globe, and they're not related. And believe me, getting up in the morning and making up an email to send here isn't that big of a popular pastime, right? You're not going to get anything from it. But anyway, thanks for sending that, man. Like I said, I haven't had any clear messages put in my head yet. I'm not looking forward to it if it does happen to me. I don't think it is going to happen to me because I'm thinking it would have happened by now. With all the places I've been and all the experiences I've had with something odd. I hope I can keep my shit together enough if it does happen to say, to challenge it on its commands. What if I don't? Right? Turn around, don't look back. Why? What am I going to see? What are you scared of? Why can't I look at you? Are you embarrassed for your ugly looks or something? Whatever, right? Like, challenge it in a way to knee-jerk it, to engage and maybe talk. But I'm trying to picture it, and I don't know if I've got the nuts to do that. Right? We'll see. Where I am going in a month is where there is a lot going on around where I'm going. And I did a lot of homework, a lot of hiking. I think I did about 600 quad miles on my quad and cut lines and old roads and trails by myself the last 2 years. And I finally narrowed down this secluded place where there's a pile of elk. And you know what goes on where there's elk on average, right? So I've got that big seed in the back of my head right now for what may or may not go down in a couple weeks. And I'm going to be packing in a whole bunch of gear in there and camping in there. So let's see what comes. Hopefully, if I do get some kind of a message in my head, I can sass back to it and not have to leave. I want to go elk hunting. Thanks again for sending that. Make sure you send it to your brother, all right? All right, who's next? Scared to Death. It's the title of this one. We've all been there. Steve, please don't share my name. My boyfriend and I were staying at his grandparents' home in the middle of Pennsylvania during the summer of '73. It was a visible but old-fashioned as they were. It was a visit, but old-fashioned as they were, we were not allowed to sleep in the same bed. Well, doesn't that make sneaking around more fun? Our wedding plans were in place for the following year. I was 18, he was 21. So we were feeling pretty frisky and headed up the mountain behind their house. We were on the hood of the car, and well, you know. When I heard this awful screech I've never heard before, followed by a skunk and very rancid smell, I jumped up to a sitting position, and my boyfriend was dumbfounded. Go figure, LOL. I told him, let's get the hell out of here. I never saw anything, just heard it and smelled it, whatever it was. I didn't want to stick around to find out. I told him the next time we'd get a room. End of story. Well, there's a shitty experience, right? Bit of a mood killer. It's funny, there's a lot of experiences out there that people just don't share because, well, you know, you don't want to talk about these things, but there has been numerous incidences of people. There's actually an incident, I think Scott Carpenter shared this with me, about a couple who was actually going at her broad daylight in the middle of the woods, and here is this thing standing there, and he was visibly excited himself and chased them out of there. Think you'd ever go in the woods again for seeing that shit? But that has gone down, it's been reported, but people don't want to say it, right? Because they're scared of ridicule, scared it might be a little too much. Well, not in this channel, not here with this group of people. We talk about everything. A kill on my property. Hi, Steve. In today's episode, you gave a quick breakdown of kill sites and the likely after scene to expect based on the predators involved. Here are two pics I took less than 24 hours apart from the same spot in April 22 on my property in Idaho. This doe that was taken down and then taken completely away in less than a day, bones, entrails, and all. All that remained was a small patch of the undigested grass and a few little tufts of fur. Any idea of the culprits? I refer to myself as bug nuts in my Sabe encounter email earlier, so let's just stick with that. I think I remember that one. Okay, bug nuts. What do we got? We have. I'll show you the pictures. I'll show them to you right now, and then I'll go over. All right, what do we got? So there is the doe carcass. Take that in, take note of what's left, what direction on the body it got ate from, okay guys? Where the guts are, what's missing, what the animal preferred originally, okay? And take note of how much is intact or not when it comes to the limbs and whether or not any bones are missing, okay? That's what I'm gonna look at. Then, the next picture is this. And that's typical when the carcass is completely gone. It's always the stomach contents are always laying on the ground. No predators want anything to do with that, okay? So, let me have a look at this and see what I think. Excuse me. Okay, so we've got the head still there. All four legs are still attached to the carcass. The hams have been eaten off. The back straps been eaten off. The rib meat was eaten off between the ribs. The ends of the ribs are chewed up from the brisket. The brisket's gone. None of the legs look broken. To me, the head's facing the correct position for the neck not to be twisted up and broken, right? And the guts are pulled out over its back side. There's no bird shit on it. There's no bird shit on it at all. So up here, normally there's going to be crows and ravens, magpies, eagles are going to be all over that shit within... Okay, every time we make a kill, harvest, animal hits the dirt, ravens are there within minutes. Skipjacks, gray jays, they're all there watching, waiting, squawking, excited. So there's no poop in that deer, so that's pretty fresh. So whatever ate it stayed with it the majority of the time before you found that kill. It's not been buried at all. The limbs are not shredded and strewn about all over the place. That, to me, eliminates wolf. Okay, I'm gonna guess. Okay, coyote. This is gonna be either a coyote or a bobcat or a cougar, but a cougar would have covered it. Would have kicked grass on top of it. So now I'm gonna nail it. Narrow it down to possible bobcat or coyote. And I think bobcat's probably scratched shit on top of it too, but there's nothing. So right now I'm going to say coyote. Nothing big. And then something obviously big came across and found it. Now, what do you got in the background? Rocky slope, spread out timber. Pretty open there, isn't it? All right, so whatever took it, I'm guessing is a bear. Me, that was my deer, and I walked along and I saw that scene, and the next day I see it's completely gone. I'm gonna think, oh, a bear grabbed this, right? Now, if it was something alarming that we're not really familiar with, you wouldn't even have found the deer. And if you did, the legs would have been broken, I'm guessing, and the neck would have been spun around. Or legs tore off and missing. So there you go. I am gonna guess that coyotes killed that deer and a bear took it. That's my guess. What, my new handle's gonna be Kill Detective? Wildlife Homicide Detective? All right, here we go. Here's another one. Idaho again. Mark, this is red. Northern Idaho. My wife and I have lived on a large and very remote off-grid property in northern Idaho for over 22 years. We raised our kids here, who are now away pursuing their own paths. We're miles and miles off-grid and border vast areas of undeveloped timberland that stretch to the border of Canada, but have never experienced anything unusual of the type you described in your channel. I offer this in case you collect details about people who do and people who don't have these kinds of experiences. I'm gonna sneeze. Maybe a researcher like Dave Politis would be more interested. Plenty of folks around here have stories to tell, so I know what happens here. There are demographics, lifestyles, personal backgrounds, belief systems, etc. that can be correlated between those who have these experiences and those who don't. Forgive my use of grammar and punctuation. I have no education to speak of, just a respect for the proper use of language. I'm willing to share details about me and my family's background and beliefs to an extent, if you'd help build a useful statistical base. I can appreciate and respect your word. Thank you, and never stop living wild. David C. Okay, Dave. I would almost bet dollars to donuts. Dave's already done that, for sure. He's a very thorough guy. He looks for everything and anything that's related or not, especially when it comes to the missing people. And he's explained a few things to me that he has found, which are some similarities in individuals who go missing, some similarities in individuals who have been taken and brought back as well, right? Interesting. Something that I don't have the time to do right now, that's for sure. Somebody might. I wonder how many people are actually sitting there right now listening to all of you and diligently writing down details. Locations, age, sex of person who's seen, what happened, chased or not, stared at, did he stare at, whatever, right? I bet you somebody's doing it. There's another one. This massive beast is on our property weekly. That sucks. My wife and I spent our entire marriage of 31 years in a major Midwestern city in the USA. Upon retirement, we bought a home on 5 acres in Oregon. This property was only 4 blocks from the home where my wife lived for her first 19 years, and that home is still owned by her parents. Our property backs up to hundreds of acres of forest. From the first day of our arrival, an extremely scary, human-like being visited our property. It is clearly a female, and she's about as wide as she is tall. Crazy. I cannot even guess her weight. There are frequent screams, yells, and grunts that frighten me out of my wits, but my wife seems to accept them without fear. Interesting. This creature shows up at least 3 times each week, sometimes more often. My wife has decided to provide food, which is gobbled up at a frightening speed. These visits terrify me. So whenever this creature arrives, I make excuses to get into my truck to run errands into town, to leave my wife to deal with it. She has dozens of photos, but they are too spooky to share. Oh, God. Oh, you bastard. All right, I'll finish. I'll follow through this one. She has dozens of photos, but they are too spooky to share. The beast wears about a size 22 housecoat and smokes like a chimney. I guess that's what I get for moving so close to my mother-in-law. You got us. I'm a big fan, never had an experience, still a city dweller, and I thought you may have needed a laugh. I'm not making fun, and I believe many of your storied experiences are real. I can only imagine your thoughts when you read this, man. When you read this man left his wife alone to deal with it. Be safe, Steve. Save yourself, right? All right, man, you got us. It's in the video. There you go. All right, how long have we been here? A little while? I got coffee left? Oh, I got enough left to piss somebody off. Damn! Excuse me. 8 years of experiences with the Forest Masters. Steve, you say you should be angry at what is going on in this world. When you become angry at anyone, i.e. government, person, or thing, you have given your power over to them. Detachment is the key. That is not to say that you condone the actions of others or that you are not willing to fight for what is right. It is to say that forgiveness is not for them but for you, and that you come to a place of peace and love for the understanding of how things are, and that in the magnificent perfection of the universe, so-called negative experiences are there for you to upgrade your demands to preferences. Nothing aside yourself can prevent you from achieving perfect and lasting unimagined happiness. I've been practicing meditation all day, every day for more than 40 years, and when you get to this level, virtually nothing anyone does can take you out of this bliss. Meditation is simply living in the moment without thought. Thought triggers emotion, and so without thought, you cannot experience suffering. We have forgotten that our minds have an off switch. Indeed, my dad believed that if you stop thinking, you die, and that is true, that it is the ego that dies. But he was unwilling to see beyond that. So once again, if you are willing to allow governments to cause you anger, frustration, or any other negative emotion, you're giving them exactly what they want. I've sent you in my May 17th, 2022 email the experiences with the Forest Masters, Bigfoot, as well as the answers to your questions about meditation in 3 files. You already do it when you're out in the nature and take in a beautiful sight for a moment. You stop thinking and take in all the beauty. When you gain some skill in living in the moment without thought, it does not matter where you are or what you are doing. Try it now. Attempt to stop thinking and expand your awareness into the room you're in or wherever you are, and then think about the fact that in the split second, there was no negative emotions, no fear, no worries, etc. You may need to do that a couple of times to get that. Practicing that all day, every day leads you what is called nirvana/enlightenment, never-ending bliss, love and peace. It is learnable, teachable skill. This is the answer to government control. Waking up through practicing meditation correctly all day, every day. The divine presence surrounds up 24/7, and we all have the power to see it and be it. Watch the first video on my YouTube page. Are you meditating correctly? This is what happens when you do. I was not born anything special. It was simply practicing meditation all day, every day, and the strictest self-honesty that was able to uncover the truth of life, and that we can and will do everything in our own time of choosing. And indeed, as you will see, what has attracted the Forest Masters to me, love and bliss. Excuse me, P.S. Teaching people as you do to educate. My teaching is how to discover what life is all about and how to get to end your suffering. All right, that's interesting. Thanks for that, man. What can I put in there? Okay, well, I get it. I completely get it. And I totally understand the negative and positive energy, what you focus on, what you allow to eat at you, what you don't. But for me, and I do know, I'm very, very aware that I can let myself get absolutely pissed off, and I want to antagonize the dark, bad people, and I do. There's a lot of my story that you guys don't know, right? And I've been threatening to share it a few times. I don't even know why I would. I guess it would help a handful of people understand more of me and my position and my delivery. But then again, this isn't about me. This channel is not about me, right? I saw a quick blip somewhere, and I think the title was Elon Musk on believing if Jesus is real or not. I think was the title of that, and I clicked on it for a second. And all it was him saying, I think he was quoting as Jesus, I believe he was saying, as Jesus is saying, if eye for an eye were practiced, then everybody be walking around blind. And I understand what that meant, but then this is how my brain operates, or has operated currently. My mind goes, if eye for an eye was the correct route, then enough bad guys out there would see their partners going blind, so they'd stop doing that too. Did I deliver that properly? Probably not. But you know what I mean? If someone said, if eye for an eye was the right thing to do, everybody would be blind. I don't think so. I think if evil were doing evil to good and evil started going blind because of it, evil would stop doing evil to good. But somebody has to do something. So if I were to go out and meditate all day long seeking bliss and happiness, who would stick up for the people that couldn't? Who would stop the evil pricks that were inflicting absolute nasty shit on those innocent people because they don't know how to meditate and concentrate everything? Love, kindness, and bliss. You know, they'd be off meditating all day long. Meanwhile, evil's just doing their thing. Somebody still has to stop them, don't you think? Somebody has to seek and deliver the truth, don't you think? Which I believe that obviously I need to do it because I'm doing it. I need to deliver truth. I need to call out the pricks, and I need to attempt to try to protect the people that can't protect themselves. I think it's probably because we were younger and we had some monsters brought into our lives and nobody protected us from them. Nobody. Right? So, and I lost a lot because of that until I learned for myself. I learned for me, I'm not preaching that to any of you, you're all gonna figure it out for yourselves, but I learned for me that someone has to fight. That's all there is to it. Someone has to fight. Good men and women have to fight at times. You have to. And if you don't, then what? Right? I have lost a shitload because I was still in that mind frame to not fight. And I didn't. Because I didn't fight, I lost a lot. And then I started fighting. And I really fought a lot. But anyway, something to think about, right? Something to think about for sure, and I will check it out. I have been interested in the meditation thing. And along those lines, I have always known that when I am out fishing, doesn't matter if I'm in the ocean or a river, or when I'm hunting, when I'm in those mountains, I don't think about anything. I literally do not think about anything. I mean, I'll bet you if I was dying of cancer and you put me in the mountains, I'd probably forget I had cancer. That's how much I blank out. But anyway, it's enough of me babbling. It's not about me. Interesting. I've had somebody else emailed, or I don't know, somebody said they came across the channel. And just so all you know, no, I do not tell people to like, subscribe, share, or whatever, hit the bell, or whatever the hell that means, or even comment. Well, sometimes I tell people to watch a comment section if they're looking for input from all of you, but I do not share this channel on any social media pages I have. Ever. Never have. I don't talk about it. I don't throw it out in group emails. I don't do anything. So what I'm saying is, I'm curious about how is everybody finding this channel? How are you finding it? All you people who have come here, you get lots of emails. Say, we just found your channel a month ago, found it 2 months ago, got addicted to it, found it last week, been addicted to it. Well, how did you find it? I'm curious to know how so many people are finding this channel, because it is not promoted in any way. Not from me anyway, not from the source. And what I think there is today, I think it flipped. This one channel flipped 265,000 subscribers the other day, and it's already blasted up to like 300 or 400 or 500, 600 more than that in the past day or two. Is what it is. People are coming, the door is wide open. But if you come here and bring your bullshit with you, well, then you get the door slammed in your face, you kick to the curb forever. Anyway, I'm curious, I'm somewhat curious, not overly. I would be curious to know how the majority of the new people here are finding this channel, right? Anyway, that's a pretty good coffee, right? This is my second coffee. I wonder how many of you are wishing I didn't have it. Anyway, I'll be back again. I can't wait to get in the middle of nowhere. I can't wait. Oh my God, I can't wait. And as I'm sitting there in those mountains, wherever I'm going to end up, seeing all those new things, I'm going to videotape as much as I can and share as much as I can. And I can't wait. I got probably, I don't know how many trail cameras I got spread around the north. I think I got over 15 or 16, I think. And I think 4 or 5 are specifically left for grizzly bears. And my great friends up north already told me, they checked a couple of them for me. And they said there was some unbelievable video footage of some absolute gargantua grizzly bears already. I can't wait to get my hands on them, see them, share them. Okay, enough babbling, I gotta go. I'm not gonna shut up. Share my story at hunt.com. I'll be back again.